Alrighty, ladies. I switched to the creative icon so I could show you how to do the same set of steps that we did on the icon 2. The first screen we're going to open up, this is your home screen, is you're going to go to the Help Center. When you go to the Help Center, you're going to jump to Embroidery Techniques. And as you can see, Cutwork scissors, Cutwork with needles, and Cutwork eyelets. We're going to select Cutwork needles. We're going to select content. And we're going to select number 6. Now that brings it in. Let me see if I can get this to close this time. I had a heck of a time doing that. And it's still doing that. There's my finger. There we go. Finally, my goodness. Now the hoop is set at 260 by 260. So we need to change your hoop options down here to 360 by 260. You notice I picked a light green because that's the color fabric I'm working with. And also it shows up better, a little bit better anyhow. So you're going to ignore the directions on your handout and just follow this part of the video. And then you're going to place that design in the middle of your hoop first. So you go to Edit, and then this is Move. And if you go back to your directions now and go to step number 10, you'll notice that you're going to put this design. You're going to input -33. You're going to open up the grid, so make sure you read what the directions are saying. And this brings it to the bottom of the sachet. Perfect. All right. Now, one of the things I want to do is I want to just close this a little bit so you can see more. Okay? Then we'll close this. Now, step number 11 says to go to Load Stitch, which is that screen right there. Go to 1.3 subcategory, Load Stitch number 1, and there it is. Now, I'm going to bring this right over here because this is where we're going to line up all the buttonholes. All righty, so the first thing I have to do with that buttonhole though is rotate it. So you're going to select this screen right here, tap the rotate, and rotate it 90 degrees. These other little arrows are to change them 1 degree at a time. The center is 90 degrees at a time. So it goes to 90, 180, and so forth. All right. Directions now say to duplicate that. However, if you leave this screen on, you'll end up with moving the design and make it crooked or on its side or whatever. So just make sure that you tap the move icon again. And now you've got your screen popped up. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this in place with 95 to the left. Now remember, that's the X-axis and that's the Y-axis. And we're up here in the upper right-hand corner, so we're in positive. Over here is negative. So now the first setting is 143. Hit OK. Now we'll duplicate that buttonhole, and we're going to keep the design at 95. And that is because, let's tap that, you're real sensitive. Let's try this again. 95. And then the second set of numbers for that buttonhole is 130. I'm going to tap 130. Right there. Come on. 130. Okay, so now they're together and they're a pair. What we want to do is we want to select both of those. So we're going to go to the layers screen, select both of them, and we can use the select multiple, which is that symbol right there. And once we do, then the group symbol pops up. And now we'll deselect it since it's grouped. And there it is. All right, now select it, duplicate it again. We're on step number 18. So again, first set of numbers, remember they're all lining up on the left at 95. And then the second set is 68. Okay. We're going to duplicate it again. $95. And a 0. Now that puts the buttonhole right in the middle of your design. So we're going to duplicate it again. And this one is 95 on the left. You notice how it's all lining up, so they're all in order. And then on the right, you're going to touch a negative 68. There we go. Again, I'm going to pinch this so we can see. Then I'm going to, whoops, go back. I have two of them. I got to delete one of them, right? So there's the second one. I was tapping too fast. Come on, 95. And then this one is going to be a negative 136. Okay, now they're all set in place. So what I'm going to do, it says the next step is to go to embroidery stitch out. I'm going to save it. So go down here to the heart. I will close this so you can see. And my machines apparently aren't talking to one another. So what I'll do is I'll make this sachet design. Okay, hit OK. Now I can go to embroidery stitch out. And it says to hoop your supreme hoop. Hit OK. And with your icon, make sure it says you have the straight stitch needle plate on, the 6D foot, active stitch technology. Change this. Whoops. Let's go back to here. Change this from automatic thread cutter and automatic jump stitch trim to just automatic thread cutter. And hit OK. Now you see your screen of colors are all set and ready to go. And I have already changed my foot to 6D. And I've already changed the plate to the single hole throat plate. If I were using white thread on my Cutwork sachet, I would be ready to go because I have a full bobbin and then I have the white thread on top. Okay, now back to the icon 2. So what you can see here is I have my hoop and I have my wet and gone. Now my wet and gone was narrow, so what I did is I just overlapped them in the hoop. Then I took Fran's idea and I went and got one of the napkins from my son's wedding This one happens to be stained, but it'll be perfect for this demonstration. So what I normally do is I fold them in half, and then I fold it in half again, so I can get a center point with a hoop. Then don't spray it with 505 or spray, because you know it'll melt. So then what I do is I line it up using the marks on my hoop. These are the middle, the center horizontal, and the center vertical. And I'm just going to hoop it. I'm going to turn it a little bit to make it easier for me to hoop. And I'm going to pull it over so I can get approximately something in the center. So we're going to cut quite a bit off of this 15 by 18 piece of fabric. I starched mine with Material Magic, so it's nice and stiff. Then I'm going to close it, put the latch down, and tighten it and make sure it's okay. Then I'm going to move over to my machine. So let me move my screen. Okay. And I have my design loaded, and all I need to do is attach my hoop. So I'm just going to put that in there, slide it in place, and hit OK. All right, so when you look at your screen and you look at the stitch out, I have my thread screen up, so let me just slide you over here. Okay, so there's my thread screen. I have ghost mode showing so I can see exactly what I am stitching. This is my first color number 1. And what that color number 1 is actually the outline, the flower outline. And let me see if I can find my sample to show you. So right here is the flower outline. Oops, right there. See it? And then the second color is the stamens in the middle. Okay. I gotta turn off my phone here. Sorry about that. That's just to remind me to take my medication. You know, old. All righty. So the first color, let me see if I can move this out of the way and then kind of move this over here. So the first color is going to be that stitch out. I don't know if you probably can't see that. The second color is going to be the part of the stamens. And then this color is this part right here. Right there, that fleur-de-lis, okay? You can change colors if you choose to, or you can leave them the same. So what I'm going to do is, there's your Cutwork needles. I'm just checking to see what my stitches look like. And there's all our buttonholes. So when we get to that point, I'll tell you about that. So we'll start with number 1, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this over here. And I actually have to pull my table out because it will bang against the wall and distort it, for sure. Okay, now these are the colors that I picked out. I don't know if you can really see the colors. There's a blue, teal blue, a light, this one's a dark one, this one's a light one. Then I found Karen had Cotty thread, so I dug mine out, and this is a light green. I don't know if you can really see that, but I'm going to use that for my lace edges. So what I'm going to do is I am going to thread the machine with my darkest blue. And I did wind a bobbin, put the bobbin in, a full bobbin. So let's see, make sure I'm using some of my RA thread. I like to use up my thread when I'm doing demonstrations. I'm doing a class that I need to have a particular color thread listed so we can put them on the supply list. Then I typically use Floriani. All right. Love that needle threader. All right, so now I'm going to start stitching. Goes up here. And because you've turned off the jump stitch, you have to actually cut your thread tail. All righty. I'm going to pause the design, or the recording, I'm sorry. So ladies, I decided you didn't need to sit and watch my machine sew. So I am now at the point where I need to insert my Cutwork needles. So I wanted to show you that right here is the prompt to insert the Cutwork needle. And then in the stitch out progress, right here, the first one is the red needle, and then the second one is the yellow. And stitch number 1:5 is now labeled as the Inspira Cutwork Needle 1. Okay, so let's roll over here. And you can take a look at my design. So as you can see, whoops, there we go. As you can see, I used a dark color for the flowers. Then I used a medium color for the stamen. Then I went to the light blue for the fan design. And then in the meantime, I didn't bother to change the thread. I just left it in. And this is now the outline to enclose the Cutwork stitching, or cutting, if you will. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to remove my hoop. Just take it off like this. Move it out like here. And take my hoop out, because I want to show you a couple of things. And I still have a bobbin thread connected. What I would recommend that you do is take out the bobbin with the thread on it and insert an empty bobbin. As I said earlier, we had a customer come to the store with her machine was all messed up from using the Cutwork needles. So you just drop that in, and yes, the message will come up. You're just going to ignore it. Just like that, okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my thread, because I don't need any top thread either. All righty, now, Cutwork needles come in a package, and they look like this. Okay, so I'm just going to open them up, take out the red needle, put it into the multi-purpose tool. And remember, the flat part goes to the back just like a regular needle does. Got it? Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to loosen this thumb screw. Yes, and I know that my hand is in the way. And then I'm just going to insert that so it's up all the way. Just like that, okay? I hope I put that in right. It doesn't feel like it, but I hope it is. All right. Okay, so I got that all in place. Now, I'm going to bring out my hoop and slide it back in place and hit start. And it says the bobbin thread is running low. Ignore it. Just keep going. Cut and remove the thread tail. The message is still on. And now it's cutting that 45-degree angle around all of the parts that need to be cut out. And I'm going to check to see, it says 11 minutes. So I'm going to pause the sharing and come back. And I'm going to pause the recording. So as you can see, I finished all of the cutting with the red needle. I've inserted the yellow needle, and the prompt says to go ahead and now cut with the yellow needle. So we're going to start cutting with the yellow needle. And again, it's going to tell me to cut my thread, but there's no thread. And the message is still up for the empty bottom. Just leave it up. Keeps it from popping back up every time. I thought were all the jump stitches, but I see one right there that I missed. Oh, I guess. This one's finished, and this one's finished. And that one's going to be 8 minutes. So I'll pause because you don't need to watch my foot and my needle go up and down. So I've cut them all out, and I've changed back to my needle, my Microtex needle, and I threaded the machine with a medium color blue. Now, one of the things that I wanted to show you is, I think you can see here how this one's already been trimmed out, but the rest of them are still attached. And that's what I'm talking about when I mentioned earlier the connecting stitches. There's just a spot where the Cutwork needle intentionally didn't cut. And that's to prevent all of your design, your all of your cut pieces from falling down through the machine. So what you're going to do is you're going to just go ahead and snip all those out. I'm trying to do this without getting my hand in the way, and it's a little tough. So I'll see if I can do it from underneath. Now you'll notice that the machine brought the hoop out so you could get in there and cut it a little easier. However, there is a hoop position for trimming. So I'm going to show you that hoop position. All righty. So it's right over here. So I'm on 1:7 for the next colors, and these next colors are all the satin stitching. So I'm actually not going to change any of those colors. I'm all going to use those as a medium blue. And you can see that these three are all the same, but this one is different. So you'll understand once you go through the stitch out, basically what the difference is. So right here is your I tried using my phone, but my phone is so blurry when it goes back and forth to zoom out that I thought, well, I'm just going to try to use my iPad, but it does tend to stop and I'm trying to work around it. So what I was going to say is I'm going to stitch next. The directions say to just leave this until last. So what I'm going to do is I am going to sorry about that. So to save time, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to continue with the next step. So I don't have any bobbin thread in there, so I have to remove my hoop and change back to the bobbin thread. I'll pop that out, take my bobbin thread, drop it back in, and now I'm ready to get back in business. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my hoop back in and slide the stabilizer that I have. Right here, I cut another sheet of Aqua Magic, and I'm going to slide this right underneath the hoop. I don't want to take time to cut out those pieces, but the directions said to wait until the end, but I was trying to minimize the time. You might have to take this off a little bit and just lay the stabilizer up underneath on the bed of the machine. Yeah, that'll work. So now the prompts are going to baste these down. All right, here we go. And I still have my cutter off. We don't turn it on until the buttonholes. So baste it down like that. Now it's going over here, basting right there. Okay, good. All right. Now I'm on the last color before the buttonholes. So what I'm doing is I'm going to be satin stitching all the way around the designs. And if I check the stitch out, that says 4 minutes. But I know, oh, I'm sorry, I'm on 1:8. So I'm just gonna let it go and then pause it again until it's finished and show you. So I turned on the projection and you can see the design is sitting over the design on my fabric. And I just stitched it's like a tack down stitch again for the fabric. So it tacks it down to the back wash, Wet and Gone or Aqua Magic. And now I'm going to do the next color, which is color number 9. And that should be the underlay for the satin stitch. You'll notice too that the projection turns off when you begin stitching. Let's check and see how long that stitch out is. That's 5 minutes. And as you can see, this is a well digitized design. Now the newer Cutwork designs are digitized with that securing tab in it and all the included stops. The older designs that perhaps came out originally did not have the securing tabs. So be wary. And if you buy a Cutwork design off of another company, that I don't believe you'll get any messages that will tell you to insert the needles and is coordinated with it. More than likely, it would probably be Cutwork with scissors. So it would have to be taken into the software, and the Cutwork with the needles would have to be added to the design. Alrighty. More minutes. What I do is I go along and snip the threads. No, that's not very safe, but you know, my patience is thin. Very short and thin. In this instance. In other instances, it's much better. I may miss a few because I don't want to get the needle in my finger, because yes, I have had students when I was teaching do that, and customers at the store do that as well. I'm pretty leery about that. Oh, and you know what? I just found one that didn't get cut out, so I gotta stop it because I couldn't stand. And there, see, it pops back on. So I'm gonna try and cut those connecting tabs so that otherwise, I suppose I could have trimmed it, but this is much neater, I think, cleaner. All right, there we go. Look and see if I missed any others. This one will be trimmed down, damn it. Gray here for sure. Okay, 2 minutes. And then we should be going to the satin stitch on the designs. And I'll shut I'll turn the camera back on pause, or the recording rather on pause. So we don't have to watch it because I know that's a little bit longer. It says my design has 37 minutes left. And I'll come back and show you the last step, and then that'll be it for this segment. The buttonholes will be a separate segment, and the wing needle and the lace edge stitches are all going to be separate videos, so that you can jump from one to the other when you're ready for it, as opposed to sitting and watching 4 hours of my machine sewing and ladies chatting. Although we did have a really good time yesterday, and some of us had true confessions here, and I'll explain what I mean later on. Almost done. Got 1 minute to go. I'll go back and cut all the jump stitches after. Okay, so as I said, I used the one color for all of these designs. I did not change colors. This is the final color. This is going to be the satin stitch. So if I weren't doing it for a demonstration, I may consider putting on a light mint green, but I'm going to go with this darker blue. Okay, here we go. So whenever the machine stops, the projection pops back on. As you can see, it's starting satin stitch. beautiful job. Okay, I shut it down and I'm going to pause the recording while it. So I just finished stitching all of the satin stitches and you can see it did a beautiful job. I still have some threads to cut, but I'll do that later. Next up are the buttonholes. And the buttonholes are going to start right here. Whoops, let me get in the camera. There we go. Right up here, the buttonholes are going to start. And what you need to do is continue with your directions on page 7. Because what we're going to do is we're going to continue with 31, step 31, and what we're going to do is we are going to change the settings and put the cutter back on. All righty, so let me get this. Ooh. There we go. Sorry about that. I'll go over here. And as you can see, we're going to do the buttonholes, and what you see right here are all each buttonhole as we programmed it. And if we stitched it out the way it's set up, you'll stitch one buttonhole and stop and cut. The next buttonhole, stop and cut. The next buttonhole all the way down to the last buttonhole. Okay, but what we want to do is we now want to change this to one color. So we're just going to take that and change it to one color. On the icon, what you're going to do is you are going to go into your settings and change it to monochrome. And you'll notice that what it does, let me close this right there. What it does is it turns all of the design into gray, as well as the buttonholes. So let me move this over so you can see there's the buttonholes. And the first one is ready to sew. If I were going to continue to do this and by accident go back to the original design, then yes, you would end up stitching out this whole thing and not having any stops at all. For cut work, for changes of threads, nothing. So that's what monochrome or one color means. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit go. Well, not go. I'm going to hit the start button and start stitching the buttonholes. And I'm going to end the video and I'll meet you on the next part, just sewing the design together. As you can see though, stitching the buttonhole. I'll play it for a little bit. So it's now on to 2-2. See how it didn't stop, it didn't cut, just kept right on going. Now, if I want to, I could, oops, see there's a mistake. That's number 3-1. Oh no, it's not a mistake. What am I thinking? No, I didn't turn the cutter back on, but the directions say to turn it on. Your choice. So I'm going to end the video now and then come back when I'm ready to sew it together. So.